What if I told you that your dinner plate could double as a time machine? That every bite of jambalaya, with its bold spices and hearty rice, or every spoonful of rich, smoky gumbo, brimming with okra, roux, and stories untold, is more than just a flavorful indulgence. It's a vessel. A carrier of centuries-old tales passed from hand to hand, culture to culture, soul to soul. These aren't just meals. They're edible archives of migration, of people who crossed oceans, some by choice, many by force, bringing with them seeds, spices, recipes, and rituals. Each ingredient whispers of faraway lands. The African coastlines where okra first grew wild, the French countryside that lent its classical techniques, the Caribbean isles bursting with heat and rhythm, and the deep American South, where it all collided in a vibrant explosion of identity. Behind every simmering pot is a revolution. A fight for survival. A reclaiming of heritage in a world that tried to strip it away. And somehow, amid the turmoil, these flavors endured. They adapted. They thrived. And in doing so, they transformed the identity of a region, and arguably, a nation. The truth is, these dishes don't just feed the body. They nourish the soul. They speak the language of resilience. They hum with the music of cultures interwoven. They are, in every sense, maps, not of geography, but of humanity. So lean in. Because what you're about to experience is no ordinary food story. It's a journey through fire and flavor. Through exile and embrace. Through history, heart, and home. Welcome to a culinary tale unlike any other. Deep in the soul of the American South, beneath the Spanish moss, through the winding bayous, and inside every weather-worn kitchen from New Orleans to Lafayette, exists a flavor unlike any other. It's not just Southern. It's not just spicy. It's not just delicious. It's a tapestry. A living, breathing fusion woven through centuries of survival, ingenuity, and soul. Creole and Cajun cuisines are often lumped together on menus and in food shows, but their stories are distinct, and their roots run deeper than most realize. They are not just comfort food, they are edible archives. Dishes passed down in cast iron pots and whispered recipes, seasoned with stories of struggle and adaptation. These culinary traditions trace their ancestry through ancient spice routes that once crisscrossed continents. They carry the salty imprint of Atlantic crossings, the resilience of those ripped from their homelands, and the fierce independence of settlers carving out new lives in unfamiliar swamplands. Imagine it: French settlers fleeing religious persecution, Spanish conquistadors charting new territories, enslaved Africans enduring the brutal Middle Passage, and indigenous tribes holding fast to their land and knowledge. Their paths all converged in one steamy, fertile region, Louisiana. And from that crucible of cultures came something extraordinary. Creole cuisine, often born in the bustling port city of New Orleans, evolved in urban kitchens influenced by European aristocrats, African cooks, and Caribbean spices. It's refined, rich, and layered, like a symphony of global flavors. Cajun food, by contrast, has its roots in rural communities, descendants of the Acadians exiled from Canada. It's rustic, resourceful, and bold. The kind of food that had to stretch to feed large families, using what the land and rivers provided. But here's the miracle: these flavors didn't just survive slavery, exile, and famine. They blossomed in spite of them. Through war and weather, through poverty and persecution, this food became a symbol of perseverance and identity. French technique meets African rhythm. Native wisdom dances with Spanish heat. It's in the roux, the rice, the smoke, the spice. It's in the stories told at kitchen tables and family reunions. So when you take a bite of gumbo or boudin, you're not just eating. You're tasting history. A history that crossed oceans, endured empires, and emerged defiantly, deliciously whole. Let's take a moment to clear up one of the most common culinary misconceptions. Creole and Cajun are not the same. They are often mentioned in the same breath, served side by side, and celebrated under the same southern sun, but their origins, their spirit, and their flavors tell two distinct stories. Stories shaped by where they came from, who created them, and how they evolved over time. Creole cuisine was born in the heart of a bustling, multi-ethnic port city, 18th century New Orleans. This was no quiet backwater. It was a hub of colonial ambition, cultural exchange, and economic power. Here, French aristocrats walked cobblestone streets dressed in lace and linen, dining on refined European recipes. But behind those lavish tables were African and Afro-Caribbean cooks, enslaved and free, who brought with them not just labor, but flavor. They introduced bold seasonings, slow-simmered techniques, and ingredients that gave traditional French cuisine an entirely new identity. Now add in Spanish rule, with its love of garlic and peppers, and the proximity to the Caribbean, with its chilies, citrus, and intensity. The result? A cuisine layered and lush, Creole food that is as multicultural as the city it came from. Think shrimp remoulade, crawfish étouffée, oysters Rockefeller. Dishes that feel elegant, that tell stories of sophistication, of New Orleans grandeur with a subversive twist of spice. But now, let's shift the scene. Cajun cuisine was never about elegance. It was about survival. About adapting. About making the most of the little you had in the middle of Louisiana's wild, untamed bayous. Cajuns trace their roots back to the Acadians, French-speaking settlers, who were forcibly removed from Nova Scotia during the 1700s in a mass deportation by the British known as Le Grand Derangement. Cast out from their homes, families shattered, they made their way to the swamps and prairies of southern Louisiana. There, they rebuilt their lives with grit and community, and developed a food culture grounded in the land. These were not the fine ingredients of the French court. This was duck hunted at dawn, alligator caught in the marsh, wild herbs foraged from the forest floor. The Cajuns built a cuisine that was bold, simple, and deeply satisfying. Stews that could feed a family for days. Rice stretched to fill the belly. Spices used not to impress, but to survive. So while Creole cuisine was born in the parlors of New Orleans, Cajun food was born over open flames in wooden shacks, carried in cast-iron pots down muddy backroads. One refined, the other rustic. One shaped by global trade and aristocracy, the other by exile and resourcefulness. But here's where it gets interesting. They are both Louisiana. And they both echo with the voices of the many cultures that collided, clashed, and ultimately created something unforgettable. Voiceover, expanded narrative. To understand Creole and Cajun cuisines, you have to think beyond Louisiana. Because these flavors are not just born of one place. They are the living result of global migrations, of centuries-old journeys both voluntary and forced. These cuisines are time capsules of movement and memory, and embedded in every spice, every simmering pot, is the story of how people traveled, struggled, blended, and built something new. Let's start with the African influence, because it's not just profound. It's foundational. Take okra, for instance. This humble green pod, sticky, earthy, hearty, was not native to the Americas. It was brought across the Atlantic during the horror of the transatlantic slave trade, carried in the hands and memories of West African peoples. In Africa, okra thickened stews and added texture to broths. In Louisiana, it became indispensable in gumbo, that most iconic of southern dishes. Okra wasn't just a food, it was a way of preserving identity under unthinkable conditions. Cooking it, eating it, it became a form of quiet resistance. Now look at the Holy Trinity: onion, bell pepper, and celery. A Louisiana staple. But here's the twist. It draws inspiration from the French mirepoix, onion, carrot, and celery, the classic aromatic base of European cooking. But Louisiana isn't France. It has different soil, a different climate, a different soul. So bell pepper replaced carrot, and the Trinity was reborn in the southern heat. It's a perfect metaphor. Old world technique, new world transformation. Now zoom out. Picture ancient caravans crossing the Sahara, trading salt for spices. Think of cinnamon and paprika, cayenne and thyme, once luxuries carried across oceans, once locked behind castle gates and kingly kitchens. These spices traveled through North African markets, Caribbean plantations, Spanish ports, and French ships, until they ended up in wooden drawers and clay pots in modest Louisiana kitchens. Cayenne for heat. Paprika for color. Thyme for depth. Not just for flavor, but for memory. For medicine. For power. Because here's the truth, in Louisiana, food became more than nourishment. It became a language of survival. A way to endure colonization. To remember ancestors. To speak a culture when words were forbidden. To cook was to reclaim identity. To season boldly was to refuse erasure. In the hands of enslaved women, immigrant farmers, indigenous foragers, and exiled Acadians, food became a creative force. A shield. A celebration. So every bite you take isn't just delicious, it's historic. Every simmering pot of gumbo, every fiery spoonful of jambalaya, it's a global epic told through local flavor. What makes food unforgettable? Is it just the flavor, the texture, the spice? Or is it something more? Something woven into the fabric of memory, family, and tradition? In Louisiana, a gumbo pot isn't just cookware, it's a vessel of legacy. A slow simmering archive. Because here, food doesn't come from recipe books alone, it comes from voices. From hands. From stories passed down like sacred heirlooms. Imagine a family gathered on a front porch. The sun low in the sky. Children chasing fireflies. A grandmother at the stove, stirring a roux so patiently, it's like watching time itself move. She doesn't measure with cups or spoons, she measures with instinct, with memory. With the way her mother did it, and her mother before her. That roux. That dark, nutty blend of flour and fat, cooked to perfection, it's not just a culinary step. It's a quiet ritual of devotion. A moment where the past and present touch. It teaches patience, precision, and pride. In every swirl of the spoon is a lesson, good things take time. Worthy things demand care. And gumbo, oh, gumbo, is never just gumbo. It's a reflection of the cook. No two recipes are the same, because no two lives are the same. Some add okra. Some swear by file powder. Some insist it's not real gumbo without andouille sausage. But the truth is, gumbo adapts. It survives. It carries personal history. It holds stories of migration, celebration, hardship, and joy. You can trace family lines through gumbo pots. Through red beans on Mondays. Through crawfish boils and boudin links shared under cypress trees. Every bite whispers, this is who we are. This is where we come from. But then came Hurricane Katrina. In 2005, when the waters rose and lives were torn apart, Louisiana lost more than houses and streets. It lost voices, grandparents, kitchens, and with them, recipes, oral traditions, unwritten legacies, recipes scrawled in faded ink, smudged notes tucked in drawers, souvenirs of culture, swept away in the flood. It wasn't just a natural disaster, it was a cultural one. Taste memories vanished in an instant. The seasoning of a childhood. The scent of a father's favorite dish. The rhythm of family dinners, disrupted. But here's the remarkable thing. the food came back. And not just as it was, but stronger. More intentional. More cherished. Communities rebuilt their homes, and alongside them, their recipes. Gumbo was cooked in FEMA trailers. Crawfish boils were held on makeshift patios. Young people began asking questions, documenting stories, preserving what was almost lost. Because they understood, food wasn't just sustenance. It was resilience. It was remembrance. It was home. And so today, when a grandmother passes a spoon to her grandchild and says, "Here, stir this until it smells like love," she's not just teaching a recipe. She's preserving a civilization. So, take a moment. Think back, not to the last fancy meal you had, but to that dish. You know, the one. The meal that made you feel held. The one that smelled like childhood, like a grandmother's kitchen, like Sunday afternoons or sacred celebrations. Maybe it was a stew, or flatbread, or a humble pot of rice that simmered with stories. What's your food heritage? Have you ever taken a bite and felt history unfold on your tongue? Like a whisper from the past. A memory you didn't know you still carried. Because the truth is, your roots might run closer to Louisiana than you think. A touch of spice. A rhythm in the cooking. A family recipe you never questioned, passed down like a secret. These are our edible fingerprints, the imprints of migration, memory, and meaning. We want to hear yours. Speaking head in silhouette, drop a comment below. What dish tells your story? Who taught you to cook it? What memory lives inside its flavor? Let's build a table in the comment section, a global potluck of history, heritage, and heart. Because just like gumbo, we're all made of many parts, slow cooked together, richly seasoned by time. As night falls over New Orleans, the scent of spice still lingers in the air. A trumpet hums somewhere down Bourbon Street. In kitchens lit by warm amber light, someone stirs a pot of gumbo. Somewhere else, a roux darkens patiently. Quietly. Purposefully. This isn't just food. This is memory. This is resistance. This is legacy served by the ladleful. Creole and Cajun cuisines are more than just regional delights. They are living, breathing archives, recording the heartbreak of exile, the fire of survival, the joy of community, and the artistry of those who cooked not just to feed, but to remember. They remind us that history isn't just in museums or textbooks. It's on our plates, in our kitchens, and in every flavor passed from hand to hand. These meals tell the truth, that food can carry identity through storms, through silence, through centuries. That even when voices were silenced, recipes spoke. So here's the question. What else is out there? What other stories lie hidden in forgotten flavors and faded cookbooks? If you believe food can tell powerful stories. If you're hungry for more than just recipes. If you want to explore the spice roots that reshaped empires and the meals that made movements. Subscribe. Join the journey. Let's explore the edible past, one unforgettable bite at a time. Legendary feasts, where food meets history.